What up, guys? Welcome to the Dr. Fact Show. Check this out, y'all. Bibi admits to funding and arming ISIS members to attack civilians that are running to humanitarian aid trucks to get food because they're starving. He was the one who armed those masked people that you've seen. Listen, the West is turning their backs because they're like, okay, these people are like, probably they're fucking Nazis. They're not Zionists. Check this out, y'all. Like, share, and subscribe. Show some love.
Some of Israel's strongest European allies are putting pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu's government over the war in Gaza. It's led to the EU threatening to review its trade relationship with Israel. So just how far will Europe go in opposing Israel and its war in Gaza? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Robin Dwyer. Israel is facing condemnation from European countries, most notably from its most loyal EU ally, Germany. The shift comes as dozens have been killed in Gaza collecting aid after a 3-month blockade of essential supplies. Is the tide finally turning against Israel, and will it make a difference?
Children crying with extreme hunger, people running in desperation for food. It's these scenes that have finally caused European nations to stir. From London to Berlin, Israel's most loyal allies have come out in condemnation of Israel's assault in Gaza.
You see, guys, this is what Israel's doing to Gaza. This is why. It's not because people hate the Jews. No, it has nothing to do with that. But this is why. Because it's a genocidal state. Simple.
What the Israeli army is doing now in the Gaza Strip, frankly, I no longer understand what the goal is. Harassing the civilian population to such an extent, as has increasingly been the case in the recent days, can no longer be justified as a fight against Hamas terrorism.
The recent announcement that Israel will allow a basic quantity of food into Gaza, a basic quantity, is totally and utterly inadequate. So we must coordinate our response, because this war has gone on for far too long.
Israel has been accused of using starvation as a weapon of war. A new aid distribution centre was established by Israel and the US called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But according to reports, dozens have been killed when attempting to get food from the distribution site.
Palestinians have been presented the grimmest of choices: die from starvation or risk being killed while trying to access the meagre food that is being made available through Israel's militarized humanitarian assistance mechanism.
You see, guys, he's talking about the... remember that footage they released about the people masked shooting at the Palestinians that are running to the humanitarian aid trucks? It turned out that Bibi Netanyahu was arming those Shabab gang that are affiliated with ISIS, and he gave him the orders to visibility restricted appeal. All right, guys, I don't know why they do that. All right, guys, we need to like and share the live. So yeah, so this gang was funded and armed by Bibi Netanyahu to attack the Palestinian civilians, not to attack Hamas.
To put pressure on Israel, the European Union could suspend the EU-Israel Trade Association Agreement. The UK government has already halted negotiations for its new trade agreement. Is this a real turning point or just empty words? And most importantly, will it change the reality on the ground?
So let's meet our guests. And joining us from Gaza, we have Iyad Amawi, who's representative of the Gaza Relief Committee and a coordinator for local NGOs. From Dublin in Ireland is Francis Fitzgerald, former member of the European Parliament for Ireland and former Deputy Prime Minister in Ireland. And from Frankfurt in Germany, we have Wieland Hoban, who's a composer, translator and chairman of Jewish Voice for a Just Peace in the Middle East. And in Cairo, in Egypt, we have Amira Nimarawi, who's CEO of Health Workers for Palestine. Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being on the programme. I want to start with you, Iyad, because you're in Gaza, aren't you? Give us a sense, if you can of what conditions are like and the mood there.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for hosting me. I will talk about the worsening the situation from this morning, especially. The Israeli occupation forces forced a huge amount of population in the Khan Younis, especially, to be expelled and force them to be displaced from their homes. And they put them in the shrinked area in the western of the Gaza Strip, maybe in 40 square kilometers, without any foods, without any shelters, tents, sweet water. The situation here is worsened and become a catastrophe. Real humanitarian crisis here is implemented over the civilian, especially for over the children and elderly people. The situation, and after the GHF announced the distribution of aids, more than 100 martyrs and more than hundreds and hundreds of the casualties come to the ER in the Nasser hospital, especially, and the medical centers in the south. The horrible times that our people is still facing from the new illusion that GHF announced they distribute foods without any system. There is no guidance here over the ground. The control is loose. Our society here is they increase our suffering, and the famine is really horrible times for the children here. The situation, ongoing time will be worse. Nothing for the trucks of aids and especially for nutrition. Let they come into the Gaza. So it's a very bad situation by the time here.
We should say, of course, that Israel says the details surrounding these killings near aid centres aren't yet established, and Israel says that it was firing warning shots. Amira, I want to come to you because you work in the aid arena, don't you? Under this new aid distribution system, which is run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, backed by Israel and by the United States, does this system work? Could it actually operate in the way that it's intended?
Definitely not. I mean, I just find it very strange that we continue to be obsessed with what this particular foundation has been doing or not doing when we know for a fact that it is backed by a genocidal state. And you have Netanyahu, a wanted war criminal, who has been pushing for this particular initiative from the very start. And so Palestinians, from well before it was even established and on the ground, as well as human rights experts, have been calling for intervention to prevent this initiative from going forwards. And sadly, again, we saw that despite the fact that Gaza has a history of 17 years where aid has been allowed to be weaponized. I mean, this isn't the first time during this particular genocide where we have seen aid, if you like, a wolf dressed up in lamb's clothing. The humanitarian pier that was allowed to be built was also used for raids in the Nusret refugee camp earlier in 2024. I think that for a very long time we have known, before it was established and on the ground, that this was aid that has been built to weaponize and to further the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And I note that you quoted what the Israelis have said, but the Israelis have shown time and time again during this genocide that the only thing that we can trust about what they say is their intent to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, not just in Gaza, but across Palestine.
Clearly a dire situation.
You guys know Israel, that's it. Israel's pretty much exposed, especially after knowing that they're arming and funding the ISIS gangs, like the Shabab. So yeah, they're pretty much screwed, I ain't gonna lie. They are screwed. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So they went from telling the world that they're fighting terrorism, and now we found out they're actually funding terrorism. Weird.
In Gaza, when it comes to aid, food, supplies. Velan, do you think this is perhaps finally triggering a shift in the way that Israel's actions are being seen by other countries, by European countries?
Well, there has been a shift in the language, in the discourse, but talk is cheap. So let's see if actions follow words. I think it's clear that the kind of knee-jerk or boilerplate justification for the previous carnage, which was, they have to eliminate Hamas and, civilian casualties, that's all very regrettable, but collateral damage, and also this, ancient but never proven accusation of human shields, whereas we know that the Israeli army clearly does use human shields. But at least for the political conversation, this current situation where starvation is becoming intense and also really engineered, not just by creating a state of mass destruction, but by withholding aid. This seems to be, again, in the conversation, the discourse, the language, seems to be a kind of red line. And, speaking from Germany, this country is the second largest arms supplier to Israel. And as a matter of fact, the weapons that Germany has sold Israel in the last 19 months were worth almost €500 million, 485 million.
Imagine Germany is one of the countries that's telling Israel to stop. Like, that speaks volume. For wallahi, like, imagine Germany, after what they did, they come out and, wow, this is amazing. Wallahi, this is amazing. Now, you're going to see a lot of the pro-Israelis laugh in the comments. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh no, that's arrogance. Just like the pharaohs thought that nobody can, they're untouchable. But I don't think so.
The figure was just published. And so they are really knee-deep in this genocide. They're knee-deep in the blood of Gaza. And so they know that even though Western countries are used to impunity, I think they have The Hague, at least in their purview. They know, okay, this is starting maybe to look more like genocide, more irrefutably than previously. And so they are liable in some way. And so it's in the interests of the West for the project of destruction that they are involved in to be less genocidal, so that they can somehow save face or legitimacy. Because when you have so many countries involved, and also the European Union, which of course has now also issued verbally a kind of about face, when you have all these countries and organs supporting what happens, if it's found to be utterly illegitimate, then they have all delegitimized themselves. Yep. In terms of upholding any kind of rules-based order, to use this typical phrase.
And Francis, the UN Human Rights Chief has called for an independent investigation into these killings at aid centres. The head of UNRWA has said aid distribution has become a death trap. If this setup continues, will we see, do you think, more countries calling it out, criticising Israel's actions?
Oh, I think that.
Okay, guys, we need some more likes. I mean, that's the third flag I get, guys. We need some likes. And how many likes we have? Come on, guys. We need tap on that screen, guys. Let's like, and share. Support the live. Subscribe if you can. That's the only way we can protect the live studio. So like and share the live, guys, please. Because that's the third warning we get, just to let y'all know.
That's inevitable with what we're seeing at present. I mean, you're already seeing a shift in the mood, I think, within Europe. You've seen France, the UK, Canada, Germany, already Ireland and Spain, really commenting more and more. And what's the level of tolerance that we're going to have in relation to what's happening? I mean, tens of thousands of people killed, humanitarian aid being used in the way that's been described earlier, the destruction of medical facilities, surgeons on our television screens day in, day out, talking in detail about the impact on women and children and men. And if you like, it's very, very disturbing to see the helplessness, if you like, of the international community, or the inability to interrupt this, the Netanyahu government, with their stated aim of destroying Hamas, but on the journey towards that, destroying all of Gaza, not caring about tens of thousands of people being killed. And it really makes one very concerned about international norms, standards, due process, rule of law. It's all gone out the window, actually. And everybody is almost powerless to intervene. The Irish government has called it genocide. I think others are joining in and seeing this as genocidal at present. And it's hard to think otherwise. But it's not really about the words. It's about what's happening to people. What's happening to families, the complete destruction of the entire area. I mean, it's utterly disturbing, and you don't want to be fatalistic and hopeless, but it's just going on and on and on, and the interruption seems close to impossible given the internal Israeli government situation.
Absolutely, guys. So this is what's going on. I mean, it's clear that this is a genocide. It's clear.